हमारे संविधान निर्माताओं के सामने एक बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण विषय पर चर्चा हुई, जिसके बाद भारत की संस्कृति, संस्कार और सभ्यता मूलक इतिहास के प्रवाह को भी विभिन्न छवियों के द्वारा संविधान में स्थान दिया गया और उसी का असर रहा कि इन चित्रों के द्वारा मूल संविधान को एक जीवंत स्वरूप प्रदान किया गया।
We are reading the preamble first, then we are starting the webinar. Okay.
भारत के प्रख्यात चित्रकार और रेखाकार श्री नंदलाल बोस से आग्रह किया गया था उस समय कि वो भारत के हजारों वर्षों की इस प्रभावी सांस्कृतिक प्रवाह को मूल संविधान में स्थान दे, जिन्हें चित्रों के जरिए संविधान में शामिल किया गया।
माननीय राष्ट्रपति श्री रामनाथ कोविंद जी।
Sujita madam has been muted.
Yes, sir.
हम भारत के लोग भारत को
एक संपूर्ण प्रभुत्व संपन्न समाजवादी पंथ निरपेक्ष लोकतंत्रात्मक गणराज्य बनाने के लिए तथा उसके समस्त नागरिकों को सामाजिक, आर्थिक और राजनैतिक न्याय विचार अभिव्यक्ति विश्वास धर्म और उपासना की स्वतंत्रता प्रतिष्ठा और अवसर की समता प्राप्त कराने के लिए तथा उन सब में व्यक्ति की गरिमा और राष्ट्र की एकता और अखंडता सुनिश्चित करने वाली बंधुता बढ़ाने के लिए दृढ़ संकल्प होकर अपनी इस संविधान सभा में आज तारीख 26 नवंबर 1949 ईस्वी को एतद द्वारा इस संविधान को अंगीकृत अधिनियमित और आत्मार्पित करते हैं धन्यवाद।
Okay, so I think after taking the oath, which was rendered to us by the Honorable President of India, we now take over and start with our session celebrating the Constitution Day today. Ladies, gentlemen, and all the brilliant minds who are there with us today, a very, very good morning to all of you. And at the very onset of this session, let me wish you all a very, very happy Constitution Day. Okay. I think, this whole concept of celebrating this Constitution Day was very much absent like 5 years back. It was, I guess, only after the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, somewhere by notification in 2015, November, notified that 26th day of November, we should celebrate as the Constitution Day to promote the constitutional values to the citizens of India. So this itself shows the importance and prominence of today's day and how aptly PIB has selected this topic for us, duties and responsibilities of citizens as enshrined in the Constitution. Because the entire purpose of celebrating Constitution Day was in a way to bring it to the notice of the citizens. Sometimes it makes me wonder whether do we celebrate it as a Constitution Born Day or do we celebrate it as like a Thanksgiving Day? Because Constitution has given us so much. It has given us protected our fundamental rights, the freedom of trade and commerce, the basic structure theory, your organizations like UPSC, EC, Finance Commission, so much. So, and we hardly acknowledge this in our daily lives. We hardly thank our Constitution for having given us so much and so much of value to our life. And PIB Goa, the Press Information Bureau Goa, has taken this opportunity to call for this webinar today. And what an amazing day, because we have two brilliant, inquisitive minds with us today on this web platform to share their views on this topic of duties and responsibilities of citizens as enshrined in the Constitution. We have Advocate Satish L. Karale, and we have Advocate Suvidutt Sundaram. And of course, I will be telling you about them as and how we move forward in our webinar. But at this point of time, let me just speak about a little bit about a topic before our speakers take it over technically and disseminate information, which is, of course, going to be mind-blowing for all of us. But this duties and responsibilities, this concept of fundamental duties was not really present in our constitution right from the very beginning, the day we got our constitution. We did not really have it in our document on 26th, the day of November 1949. It was inserted much later, that is by your 42nd Amendment Act in 1976. So it did take quite a while for us to realize the importance of fundamental duties in our constitution. And this is the backdrop in which our first speaker will take over. Let me also take this opportunity to introduce Mr. Vinod Kumar, who is going to be there with us, the Deputy Director of Press Information Bureau, whose brainchild this session is. And with this, let us begin with our first technical session for the day, which will be presided over by Advocate Satish L. Karale. Now, Advocate Satish L. Karale is a special public prosecutor for the Income Tax Department, the Belgavi, Panaji, and Mangalore region. And he is a legal advisor to many, many leading banking and financial institutions. Advocate Karale is here with us today. Thank you very much, Advocate Karale, for taking time from your busy schedule to be with us here. And he will be speaking on fundamental duties as enshrined in the Constitution of India under Article 51A. I request you, Advocate Karale, to take over from here, and we are eager to hear your insights on this topic. Please, sir.
Thank you, madam. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining in. At the very outset, as madam has already informed all of us as to the basic features as regards the Constitution, as to when it has come into force. In fact, we celebrate Republic Day when the Constitution came into force on the 26th of January 1950. And as madam also said, that the celebration of Constitution Day, it is also called as Law Day. It was decided around 5 years back, to be specific, 19th of November 2015, when the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment gave a decision to the government to celebrate the Constitution Day on this particular day, that is the 26th of January, 26th of November every year. Now, to give a brief idea, our Constitution has 395 articles, 22 parts, and 12 schedules. Now, as regards the topic at hand, we are more concerned with chapter number 4A, which comprises of only one article, which is Article 51A. And this article, which is Article 51A, it deals with the fundamental duties, and the fundamental duties are 11 in number. Now, this chapter 4A was added in the Constitution through an amendment to the Constitution. To be more specific, the 42nd Amendment in the year 1976. Now, what I would like to state here is that it took us 29 years from freedom to enshrine the fundamental duties in our Constitution. The fundamental duties were in fact recommended by the Swaran Singh Committee, and moreover, to ensure that the individual did not overlook his duties while exercising his fundamental rights. Now, these fundamental duties which we are speaking about are in line with the Article 29, Sub-Article 1 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Now, let me read out what the Article 29(1) of the Universal Declaration states. Now, Article 29, Sub-Article 1 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights says, everyone has the duties to the community in which alone the free and full development of the personality is possible. Now, as I had said, there are 11 fundamental duties which are stated in Article 51A. I'll read out those 11 articles, 11 fundamental duties here. The first one being A, to abide by the Constitution and respect its ideals and institutions, the national flag and the national anthem. B, to cherish and follow the noble ideals which inspired our national struggle for freedom. C, to uphold and protect the sovereignty, unity, and integrity of India. D, to defend the country and render national service when called upon to do so. E, to promote harmony and the spirit of common brotherhood amongst all the people of India, transcending religious, linguistic, and regional or sectional diversities, to renounce practices derogatory to the dignity of woman. F, to value and preserve the rich heritage of our composite culture. G, to protect and improve the natural environment, including forests, lakes, rivers, and wildlife, and to have compassion for living creatures. H, to develop the scientific temper, humanism, and the spirit of inquiry and reform. I, to safeguard public property and to abjure violence. J, to strive towards excellence in all spheres of individual and collective activity so that the nation constantly rises to higher levels of endeavor and achievement. And lastly, K, who is a parent or guardian, to provide opportunities for education to his child, or as the case may be, ward between the age of 6 and 14 years. Now, the last one which I mentioned was added in the year 2002 via the 82nd Amendment to the Indian Constitution. Now, before I go further, I would just like to quote the former president, US President John F. Kennedy, who said, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for the country. This is basically what we are speaking about. This is what the ex-president, the former president, US President said as to what are the duties of the citizens towards their country. Everybody is aware about their rights, but it is seldom known as to what are the duties of the citizens towards their country. Now, subsequent to this, in the year 1999, there was a committee which was set up, to be specific, the Verma committee, as regards operationalize the suggestions to teach fundamental duties to the citizens of India in the year 1998 under the chairmanship of Justice J.S. Verma. Now, the committee submitted its report in October 1999. I would like to read a few insights which the report said. At the very outset, what the report said is that every right implies a corresponding duty, but every duty does not imply a corresponding right. Man does not live for himself alone. He lives for the good of others as well as of himself. It is this knowledge of what is right and wrong that makes a man responsible to himself and to the society, and this knowledge is inculcated by imbibing and clearly understanding one's citizenship dues. The fundamental duties are the foundations of human dignity and national character. If every citizen performs his duties irrespective of considerations of caste, creed, color, and language, most of the malaise of the present day polity could be contained, if not eradicated, and the society as a whole uplifted. Rich or poor, in power or out of power, obedience to citizens' duty at all costs and risks is the essence of civilized life. Further, they have touch upon clauses E and F. Clauses E and F of Article 51A. Now, what they have said, and I quote, is it is couched in broad terms, but it should be clear that attacks on minority communities or minority opinions are frowned upon. Respect for both are essential, and the wording lends support to a broad humanism to cover such differences as may exist, or better still, coexist. Two thoughts can be distilled. The first is that the objective will not be reached unless there is a determined effort to restrict religious practices to the home on the justified premise that one's religion is a personal matter and is not conducive to mass assertiveness. The other is the status of woman. Further, the report says it is necessary to separate religious precepts from civil law. Civil law, as the name implies, is a matter of society, not for religious leaders, and it would seem to us to be axiomatic that in matters of civil rights, laws of property, and inheritance, and marriage and divorce, although practices may differ, legal rights that accrue must be the same. For example, a marriage may be solemnized according to religious or social custom, but the rights of a woman in the case of divorce must be the same no matter what her religion is. As the Supreme Court held in the Shah Banu case, an abandoned wife is an abandoned wife, and it does not matter whether she professes one religion or another. She is entitled to alimony. Progress in these directions will be slow, but it is necessary that progress is seen to be made. The key lies in education. As far as Clause E of Article 51A also seems to cover the need to regard all human beings equally. In this connection, it is necessary to consider the question of upliftment of scheduled castes and other disadvantaged sections of our society. The scourge must be eradicated. The Constitution gave us 10 years to do the job. The provision has been extended to 50 years, and we are here in sixth 10-year period, but we are no nearer the goal. The discrimination is twofold. It is economic, condemning whole sections of our society numbering millions to menial jobs as part of the evil of treating them as subhuman. We have provided for reservation of jobs to these people. We have even given them separate constituencies to represent them. It has created a vested interest in backwardness. The other adverse result is that it has no effect on their status in society, which continues to be determined by birth and not human worth and human personality. It is this social stigma which still plagues our people, and the struggle to restore to them basic human dignity has made no significant progress. While the Commission appreciates the context in which affirmative action became necessary, it feels that reservation of jobs and seats in the legislature will not help this aspect of the matter. Coming to the last one, which I had said, the recent a duty which was enumerated, which was added in Article 51A. Now, as regards that, they say Clause F of Article 51A requires us to value and preserve the rich heritage of our composite culture. In fact, this is a Clause F, I'm sorry. It follows that we may not break each other's places of worship, set fire to religious texts, or beat up one another's priests, or obstruct those who exercise their fundamental right under Article 25 to process, practice, and propagate religion. Composite culture means culture drawn from many strands. Here again, education in its broadest and best sense can provide the corrective to the aberrations that have occurred. Now, coming to the last one, which is K, as regards the one which was recently added, the report says education is not confined only to the time spent in schools and colleges. Education begins at birth in the subconscious and continues till death. Anyone who says that he has nothing more to learn is already brain dead. It follows that the influences that play on a child at home are of great importance. Parents should understand that education begins at home. The examples they set, the environment of enlightenment and tolerance that is necessary to produce good citizens cannot be subcontracted to formal schooling, important though this is. Schemes should therefore be framed that include parents in social activities that have as their objective the country's age-old traditions, its welcome to the persecuted of every faith, its virtues of tolerance of and respect for all religions, and a certain pride in belonging to this land and in being considered as Indian. The highest office in our democracy is the office of the citizen. This is not only a platitude. It has been
Sir, can I intervene for a minute here, sir?
Sorry?
Sir, now that you're giving us an entire overview of fundamental duties, it just takes us to the entire perspective that the Constitution is now wanting us to know. So, my just inquisitiveness that I had in my mind, why did it take 29 years for fundamental duties to be brought in our Constitution? Were we as citizens not responsible? Was it that that reason that brought us the need to give us fundamental duties in 76, or was it just to bring us in power with other countries and UDHR and International Covenant on Civil Political Rights? I mean, what according to you, why did it come in so late?
According to me, man, when the constitution was drafted, it was the constitution was right oriented, right, rather than duty oriented. Now, after emergency is when the people, the citizens understood the importance of duties. Initially, the framers of constitution drafted the constitution. They basically drafted with a right-oriented motive. Duties were incorporated in 1979. That is what I had said, that it took us 29 years to know that duties are also important. So, to conclude, ma'am, every
So I
generation.
just want to ask you something, sir, because you are giving us such a beautiful insight about fundamental duties that my mind was just working towards all that. Now this reason that it came in 29 years late, has it impacted deeply on we the citizens that we aren't really valuing it as much as we should? We aren't really acknowledging the presence of rights in our life, the presence of what the Constitution has done for our life. We are somewhere ungrateful citizens of India. Somewhere we required the notification of the government to tell us, please commemorate 26th November as a Constitution Day. Remind people that there is a Constitution. They should be thankful. They should be grateful. This 29 years, has it left in a way a big impact on our minds? Would it have been different if fundamental duties were there a little earlier than 1976?
Of course, ma'am. Of course, I do agree with you that the duty should have been enshrined initially along with the rights. I think so. The generations, the earlier generations, as well as our generation, as well as the future generation of our children, would have been more aware about their duties as much as they are aware about the rights. Because I was born in 1977, so I was hardly 2 years old when the duties were enshrined. And uh, these things take a lot of time. They take a lot of prodding to put what you call the basic aspect as regards duties is what I feel is that is regarding the enforceability of duties. The enforceability of rights is entirely different from what the enforceability of duties is concerned. If a person does not stand up in the theater when the national anthem is being said, there is no enforceability.
Yes.
Okay.
I think that
One,
there lies the problem with fundamental duties. It's non-enforceable nature.
the enforceability is a problem because they give various excuses as to why they were not standing for the national anthem. They give they give reasons or excuses or whatever. But what about the enforceability? There are certain countries which take these things very seriously. And if you have to enforce your duties, who has the time and the money power to knock on the doors? Because to enforce the duties, one have to knock on the doors of even either the high court or the supreme courts. Who has the time, who has the wherewithal to file a public interest litigation, follow it up, and make it aware to the citizens of the country?
Could it also be that primarily the shape given to fundamental duties is more like a moral obligation that we, the citizens, should perform? So, does morality really have, or does it need to have any place in terms of enforceability that we call fundamental duties as moral obligations of citizens? Do we really
That
need to make it
that
enforceable?
that is the problem. They say that it is a moral obligation. It is not a constitutional obligation. One has to do it. Is the problem. It is not enforced. It is not put into action on a day-to-day basis. We are discussing these things only on one particular day. That is the 26th of.
Yes, Advocate Karale.
November. This should be done. This should because am I online?
Yeah. I think there was some issue of connectivity in between, but now I think we can hear you.
Fine. See, as I was saying, I had to give an example. A
Yeah.
person slips and falls down in his bathroom because the bathroom floor was slippery. The same
Okay.
person slips and falls down in a public toilet. He enforces that. He says that I am the taxpayer, I have paid it. You are not maintaining the toilets properly. But what about he slipped and fell down in his bathroom, in his own bathroom? He should have maintained it. It is his duty. This is the basic difference.
Very true, sir. Yes. What a wonderful session it has been, sir. I mean, the things that we should know by now in us are absent, and we don't really pay so much of attention to all these duties and obligations. But, somewhere I think it is a little nice because, now I see books of even primary school students, they have fundamental duties printed on their school textbooks. So, in a way, I guess the government has also realized that sensitization for kids is very important. With this, Advocate Karale, I really thank you from the bottom of my heart from being here and sharing your insight and really giving us that opinion on fundamental duties. I hope all our viewers today on this web platform have followed the 11 duties that Sir has reiterated again and given us a very lovely insight on it. So maybe when we have some questions after we wind up with our technical session too, we'd get back to you again on that. Yeah. Thank you very much, sir.
Sure. Thank you for giving an opportunity.
Uh,
Thank you.
yeah. Now, after the first session, where we've been talking about fundamental duties and all the 11 duties that are there, and what place actually it has in our constitution, whether it is justiciable, whether it is non-justiciable. Should it be justiciable in the first place, or can we just leave it teethless the way it is in our constitution? We will now take this opportunity to catch in on our next speaker. And our next speaker with us today is Advocate Suvidutt Sundaram. And Advocate Suvidutt Sundaram, I welcome you, Advocate Suvidutt Sundaram, on this platform. It's wonderful to have you with Advocate Suvidutt is advocate on record in Supreme Court of India. He's the founder and managing partner of Outsay Legal, a visiting faculty in several prestigious law schools in India. He's also involved in the drafting of private member bills, has been on the panel of such important and landmark judgments in the area of constitutional law. Sir, I cannot really take more time but to introduce and get you started. And what a wonderful topic sir has chosen. Constitutional duties of citizens to develop the scientific temper, humanism, and the spirit of inquiry and reform, a specific fundamental duty which is enshrined in Article 51AH. So I will not take more time. I would just like to hand over to you, and you can take over the session from here. A very warm welcome, Advocate Sundaram.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. In fact, the topic that I've been assigned today is something to do with the fundamental duties, and it's specifically it's Article 51, capital A, clause H. It talks about the fundamental duties of citizens to develop scientific temper, humanism, and spirit of inquiry and reform. As most of the people in the legal fraternity, as well as otherwise also, people know that the fundamental duties of citizens, they were added in the 42nd Amendment in the year 1976. And this 11 duties, which everyone know, that they're all very fundamental in nature. We can't enforce it, no doubt, but then it is everyone's responsibility to abide by it, because there is a larger objective why these provisions have been enshrined in our constitution. If you just look at in a specific manner the statements, it has got few parts. The first is the scientific temper, the second is the humanism, and third is the spirit of inquiry and reform. Let's first deal with the scientific temper aspect. Why, as a citizen of India, everyone should develop this scientific temper? Scientific temper is a way of life. It is defined in the context as an individual and social process of thinking and acting. We have to adopt scientific method. We have to question the physical reality. Even have the sense of testing, hypothesizing, and communicating. So these are all a part of building up scientific temper. So this attitude should be developed among the citizens. So therefore, in the process, discussions, arguments, there would be difference of opinions, and based on fairness and equality, and whatever values our democracy has, we have to create and we have to imbibe this sense of scientific temper. If you just consider the background, how this scientific temper term has come in the constitution. Historians credit our India's first Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru for coining this term scientific temper, because he, in his book Discovery of India, mentions about scientific temper, and he would have taken inspiration from thinkers like Charles Darwin or maybe Karl Marx, who were in fact uh, like propagating the idea of scientific temper. And therefore, this background, in which Indians got their independence at that time, we were very much, so I mean, we were very much, you know, like caught up in certain superstitious beliefs and so many, irrational ideas. So, in order to come out of those belief system, building up scientific temper was very much essential, and that's the reason why our prime minister came with this idea. Now, even today, this is not an outdated concept. We may be boasting about so much achievement in several fields, in science, in sports, in education, in technology, but we all have certain mindsets which may be retrograde or which may be, looking back. That's the reason why we have a fundamental duty that each and every citizen should be building up this sense of scientific temper. So therefore, in short, science and scientific temper, they are very much imperative if better lives have to be assured to a billion plus population that the country has, and we are constrained by resources, particular energy, and therefore this need to be inculcated. This need to be done, and as I mean, we all are doing right from the school, college, collegiate education, as well as by the society itself, by several NGOs and other people. But then it has to start right from the beginning. Well, the why I'm telling this, what is the importance? The reason is nothing is infallible. See, you take any example, like any philosophers or maybe religious people, they would have stated a lot of things, but probably in their context, and probably considering the relevant times. Maybe Buddha would have said a lot of things. Maybe Socrates would have said a lot of things at his point, I mean, at his times. Or maybe Ambedkar would have said a lot of things. But due to changing times, the context, the context also has changed. The times have changed. So therefore, the scientific temper have to be built, and it has to adapt it to the present times. So even today, I'll tell you why. Just quoting one or two examples. Now, Corona, a pandemic is happening. There are several people who occupying, higher positions. They have said that, like cow urine can cure coronavirus, or maybe, there are like other things. I don't want to mention each and everything specifically. But then the point is, still we are behind the vaccine. Still we are behind, finding out a solution for this, illness. So therefore, this sense of looking, scientifically have to be built up, rather than just blindly believing in certain religious or maybe, irrational things to say it better. Now, another, what I can, suggest as a solution to this problem is social media is in fact it's a part of a digital ecosystem wherein informations are spread, and including misinformation, so rumors, superstition, terror. So these things keep on spreading, fake news. So this should be stopped. So it is each and every person's responsibility that only certain rational things have to be spread, not irrational things or misinformation, because there are a section of people in our society who are not that much, that much literate, who may be gullible, who may be falling into the trap of the spreading of misinformation in the social media. So this is one way of doing your part, or maybe doing your role, performing your part in building up scientific temper. And I have initially said that catch them young. When somebody is actually in the school, give them the best knowledge, the best education, show them the bright side of everything, and I think definitely that sort of mindset will be built. Now, the second aspect of this particular provision, Article 51A, Clause H, is humanism. See, humanism is a little bit different from.
Advocate Sundaram, can I just ask you a question to you here? Something that just struck me. I mean, you made a very, very relevant point about social media and about how we have virtually misused it. Maybe because it's coming free to us, maybe because we are not really having to face too many consequences of being wrong there. Can we put in a little more articulately and say we are violating our fundamental duty when we are behaving irresponsible on this platform of social media? Because we are harming the national integrity, certain values which are enshrined in the fundamental duties. So, and because fundamental duties are non-justiciable, but we are playing a very, very terrible role of violating a fundamental duty.
Yeah, of course, I totally agree with this. In fact, see, some 20 years back, we were not having this challenge.
Yes.
Of social media, in which misinformation was being spread. Probably at that time, there might have been a problem, like somebody drew something on the graffiti, like as a graffiti somewhere on the outside on a wall, or maybe people were spreading pamphlets. Okay, people were just spreading some maybe something which is against the interest of the country. So those things had a limited reach, because people watching the graffiti, or maybe people reading the pamphlets with misinformation content, it had a limited consequences or maybe reach. But now, since everybody is having this device, mobile device, people have easy access to internet. Even ourselves, like being educated and having all sort of privileges in life, still we don't have that much time to cross check the facts. So therefore, we also sometimes may be part of this spreading misinformation, because we may not be having time to cross check. So therefore, there should be a check from the authorities side. There should be a check within. As a citizen, I would tell, and to all other citizens, that keep a restraint.
I just remembered an instance here. A year ago, when we had the Ayodhya judgment coming from the Supreme Court, and I remember there were these messages circulated everywhere on social media that do not write anything. If it's a group, make it only admin only group. Deactivate the participation of all the other members of the group. So everybody was so vigilant that people may make use of this opportunity and pass on something which may not be healthy in the national fabric. So everybody was so cautious to direct people not to say anything and make it admin only group. Was it in a way related also to fundamental duty?
It should not. I can't fully agree with the way it has come, because such things cannot be instilled in the minds of the people, just like a school teacher with a stick or a cane, make the students, in a school obey, or like,
Yeah.
see, that is not possible even for Supreme Court, or maybe any other constitutional courts. I'm talking about high courts across India. I don't think that any courts can always keep an eye on what people are in fact discussing, or propagating, or if any misinformation is being spread. So these are the things that no authority can do. That is where the role of this fundamental duties come in, because fundamental duties, it is not from the other side, because it is from our side, it is from the side of the
I
citizen.
agree.
So therefore,
I agree.
uh, people have to think that whether uh, on a particular topic or a subject, whether some misinformation is, we have to keep a restraint while spreading that, because it should not be done, because it will have severe consequences, adverse consequences. uh,
Yes.
that is the
You know,
concern. And
yeah. You know, now that we are emphasizing on so much of social media and so much of mean things that they're doing to fundamental duties, it reminded me of another instance, minus social media. And sir, I would really like to get your insight on it, because our temperament as Indians is a big question, and has always been a big question to us. A cricket match between India and any other nation, and we walk in with flags, we walk in with the national flag, we walk in with tricolor caps, we walk in with everything tricolor in the beginning. If everything goes well and India wins the match, nothing like it, we may walk out with double the amount of tricolors. What if India loses miserably, and you have people behaving, abusing this national, properties that we have? Because you have the flags all over the stadium, you have your national tricolor hats all over, you have everything with the tricolor, and at that point of time, you forget that it is the national objects of national significance and importance. They become like mere objects of commodities, and that is petrifying. I have always had this. It's Is it not terrible violation of fundamental duties? Such little things, but of grave significance, wherein we are violating our fundamental duties.
Yes, in fact, I think we have this provision in fundamental duties. We should not be, destroying the public property. So, therefore, see, in a cricket match, or maybe in any other sports, when your country is in fact, playing, obviously passion run high, and if you lose the match, or maybe the other way, if you win the match, uh, passion runs high, because one is,
Yeah.
you get elated because you have won, your team has won, and then sometimes you get frustrated or maybe disappointed once you lose the match. So therefore, either way, people may indulge in destroying the public property. That, and there are Supreme Court judgments which says that criminal action would be taken, and so it is going to be very, it will come. I mean, authorities will come down heavily on those people who destroy the public property. So therefore, it is in fact the duty of the public, I mean citizens, to respect other fellow civilians, I mean fellow beings, as well as the properties belonging to the government or any public property. Okay, so it should not cross the limit. Your elation or maybe your desperation should not cross the limit. So that's where we have this, fundamental duties. And I would tell that if all these 11 fundamental duties are abided by the public, I will tell India will become a superpower. There is no doubt. See, the way it has been drafted, see, each and every clause each and every citizen, if they follow, our country will be like a I don't know, heaven. Like it's like that much superpower. I'll tell you. Uh, but it can't be done on a single day, or maybe in a fortnight, or maybe in few years or a decade. It will take time. It will take
Okay.
decades and decades to achieve
Yes.
that.
That's simply because of our civilized culture that needs to be civilized. And it's not just the presence of fundamental duties, it's how much we can inculcate these fundamental duties onto our regular lives. At this juncture, can we also have Advocate Karale? Advocate Karale, if you could also come in.
Yeah, ma'am.
Whenever we've spoken about duties have been like this, a sibling which has been little neglected, not given much importance to, because fundamental rights have taken over everywhere. They are more popular, they are more famous, they have a better place. They were there since the beginning, so they are the bolder sibling as compared to the fundamental duties. But as you had also mentioned in the beginning, rights and duties are correlated. And if you have a right, you also have a corresponding duty to it, which is a correlative duty. Uh, so this concept of Western jurisprudence and Hoffel in our Indian system, because you gave this example about how like falling in the bathroom at home and falling in a public bathroom would make a difference. This relationship of rights and duties, should we really need to bring it more to the notice of the public, and should we sensitize people more on that?
Absolutely, ma'am. In these times, it is of utmost importance because people are more prone towards making their rights known rather than their duties, because rights are easily said and done. Nobody says that it is something wrong to spit on the road, but you can find tobacco, cigarettes, whatever, everywhere at every nook and corner. But what this is what I am saying. These things should be sensitized as regards the general public is concerned in the recent times now.
There is we have some questions by our people on the web platform, and I pose this question to you. This question goes to Advocate Suvidutt. Fani Kumar Pemaraju wants to ask you, please explain the difference between fundamental duties and fundamental responsibilities. So, Fani Kumar has this question for you, Advocate Sundaram.
Okay, thank you, Fani Kumar Pemaraju, for this question. In fact, your question is very generic in nature. In fact, what is the difference between fundamental duties and fundamental responsibilities? First of all, fundamental duties are, in fact, the term that is used in the Constitution, and they are fundamental in nature. Okay, it is the Constitution that says that these 11 duties that need to be abided by, or else you will be getting sanction. I mean some consequences would be there. But fundamental responsibility is on a different plane altogether. On the other hand, fundamental responsibilities, there is nothing called as fundamental responsibilities. Probably responsibilities may be on different plane, maybe personal responsibilities, maybe your responsibilities towards your family, or maybe towards your school or college, or maybe your office. So those are the responsibilities which are totally different. But the Constitution only recognizes fundamental duties. Well, responsibilities and duties may be uh, terms or jargons, maybe in a literal way, it can be used interchangeably. But fundamental duties has come into being through by way of an amendment. So it has got a different status altogether. But responsibilities are there is no such term that has been used or referred in the Constitution. So in the legal parlance, responsibilities maybe can be discussed or stated in a particular context, but not constitutionally. But there is one thing I can tell, to conclude, that if duties are fully followed and simultaneously there are other responsibilities which are not mentioned in this particular 11 duties, then I think it will be better, it will enhance, or it will be supplementing these 11 fundamental duties. If you have any moral responsibilities, if any citizen can build up that, it will be well and good. Thank you.
I really request our viewers on this platform, make use of this opportunity. You have two great minds speaking on this awesome, great day, the Constitution Day, here to answer your queries, your questions, whatever doubts you have in your mind. Please post your questions on the YouTube chat and we will be able to get the answers from there. Sir, there is another question for you. So, which is talking about scientific temperament. And it says, so should it be changing because we are in the era of time change? And it says, sir, can you tell us what kind of difference might be there in thinking of ancient people in temperament or current? So they want to know about this concept, I guess. This question is by Mahendra S.
Understood. Okay. Thank you, Mahendra. See, the point is, in ancient times, we have Vedas, we have Upanishads, Rig Veda, all these scriptures that we were having, they were all, I'll tell you. See, for example, by citing an example, I'll tell you. I belong to Kerala. Okay, here in Kerala, it's a literate state, and people still, rely on these astrology and too much. Okay, here people are they believe in astrology. I used to inquire, what is the reason why still people believe in astrology. So I got an explanation from the astrologer, because I put the question to an astrologer who is having a PhD in astrology. Okay, now he said the scriptures and these Vedas and other stuffs, they belong to an era where we were not having technological devices to ascertain the truth behind their observations, or maybe whatever they have concluded. Right now we have the devices, we have to some extent, not like to full extent. Okay, that is why we couldn't even explore the universe. We have a limited resources, and that's why we could only go to a certain extent of the universe. Right now, people some 2000, 3000, 5000 years back, they were having vision, they were having some sort of intuition, which was which was what do you call for that, which were driven by certain convictions, or maybe strong footings on scientific premises. It's not like they blindly did it. Okay, their calculations were perfect. So that's why if you go through the scriptures, if you go through these texts, you will be amazed that how come during that times they could have done this impossible things. Even today we can't even comprehend. So because they, at that point, they were having these solar system, they were having all these things, they know the positions of stars, they know the positions of planetary movements and all these things. So at this point we want telescope to observe, because we are much more materialistic, we are much more although scientific temperament was there as well as today, devices we have today, when technology is more advanced today, but at that point, they were on a different level. I never say that scientific temperament was less. It was also present. Uh, well, with the changing times, what had happened is a lot of irrational beliefs, a lot of superstitions. It has faded out. It has faded out, and it has now lost relevance in today's times. So I can conclude by saying that scientific temper at that point also and even today also, it has got huge role, and maybe a very less number of people were concerned at that point, but now, since we are all educated, uh, we have we are much more, scientifically, the temperament is more, much more. So in comparison, in every society, on different levels, scientific temperament is there, and we should always preserve what sort of scientific temperament at some 2000 or 5000 years back we were had.
Yes,
We
sir.
should always, uphold that.
Yes, sir. So, Advocate Satish, there's a question for you. Before that, viewers, I request you, if you have any question, please type in your YouTube chat. Let us make the best use of this opportunity to clear our minds with a lot of doubts in Constitution. We are waiting for your questions. We have some time before we go offline. So, in the meanwhile, Advocate Satish, I have a question for you. The Justice Verma committee that was set up to study this concept of fundamental duties further had spoken about duty to vote and duty to pay taxes, a duty to help a victim of the accident, and duty to keep your premises clean, a duty to raise voice against injustice. All this should also be included in fundamental duties. But these suggestions were not taken seriously. Of course, it did not really see the light of the day. What is your take on this? Should these suggestions of Justice Verma's committee would have been a part of fundamental duties, or they're rightly out of the system?
No, what my friend Shivdat said, I totally agree with him that these 11 duties are not exhaustive. They can be added, they can be supplemented, along with whatever scientific developments are taking place, innovations, whatever. These things can be added. It's not an exhaustive list. As you had said, certain things do come up. The disease like COVID is unprecedented in history. So certain things have and can be added and should be added, in fact. Madam, you have been muted.
Okay. There's a question by Vijaya Rane. Our viewer wants to know whether our fundamental duties can be made enforceable in the future. Is there a possibility for this anytime in the near future?
See, in fact, if you just go through the fundamental duties, there are several legislations, there are several specific statutes, which are at place. For example, there is a provision to protect the environment. See, we have, statute relating to environment. We have even this NGT, National Green Tribunal. So just imagine the extent in which, over the period of time, say in the last 50, 60, 70 years, how things have moved. So if you just take each and every, I think public property should not be, destroyed or vandalized. See, we have a Supreme Court judgments. Obviously, it's a law of the land. People have to, follow this, no doubt. And if you don't follow, obviously you're going to meet like obviously penalizing effect, right? So over the period of time, each and every fundamental duties, in some way or the other, it has come in our country in the form of statute, or maybe some circulars or orders, or maybe some Supreme Court, court judgments. So they are trying to enforce in some other way, but Constitution does not say anything about that. It is fundamental. As Satish ji, advocate, he was telling rightly that 11 duties are, in fact, for this such a big country like India, 11 duties are, it's nothing. It's 11 things, like respect the national flag, anthem, national anthem. Okay, don't destroy the property. Build up scientific temper, humanism, reforms should be inculcated. So these are the things. Well, it's too less for a country like India. And our country, our constitution is considered to be the largest, the voluminous, and the most bulkiest in the world. And with in this constitution, we have reduced it to only 11 duties. I think it's time that we have to amend that. Probably in the coming post-COVID era, maybe we have to rethink.
Yeah, so we put in Justice Verma suggestions in place also, and we give them their due. We have a couple of questions here. One is by Deep Jolly Mumpili. What must citizens do in order to ensure that the founding soul and values of the Constitution stay alive and active? Yes, Advocate Satish, would you like to take it?
Yeah, sure.
Yes,
see,
sir?
we have been discussing this very issue.
Yeah.
We have been discussing this very issue as to how to disseminate the fundamental duties to the country, to the citizens, not to the citizens who are major. In fact, what we are discussing is that these duties should be known to the current generation who are in schools, who are in colleges. These are the people to whom we have to disseminate, we have to make aware about the duties. This is the thing. What the query says is that how to ensure the founding souls and values of the Constitution to stay alive and active. See, my father was an advocate. He has given a practice now. I am practicing advocate. I have 2 kids now. Whatever my father had to do, he has done it. What I am supposed to do, I'm doing it on a daily basis. But I have to inculcate certain things to my kids, because those people are the next generation. They are going to find a lot of challenges, a lot of innovations, new innovations, which can be good for the humankind. These things should be taken into account. This is how the soul of the Constitution, the soul, the motive, the reason for the fundamental duties is.
Okay. We'll take in another question here. This question is directed to Advocate Suvidutt. The question reads that it's by Venkat Raman. And this question reads, how do you reconcile conflicting duties like cherishing heritage and scientific temper?
Thank you. Thank you for this question, Venkat ji. You see, this what I have seen in the recent times, say for the last 10 years, people are, so several NGOs are, at place. Yes, working day and night. I know personally, I have, several clients also from, this particular field, where they are reconstructing the temples. They are just rebuilding the temples. There are like several people who are actively working in the form of litigation also. Like, they go to the court, get an order, and try to preserve the heritage, the lost heritage, or maybe the heritage which is which is on the verge of dying. So there is a lot of activism going on at ground zero level, and I totally wholeheartedly welcome such activities at place. And apart from that, the question is how to reconcile the conflicting duties, like cherishing the heritage and scientific temper. But see, now on one hand you have scientific temper. See, scientific temper, I'm telling that it is never against the heritage. It's never that. See, it's always it's always complementary. I'm saying that, well, on one hand you have the heritage, okay. On the other hand, you have this scientific temper, but it's a misconception that scientific temper is only secularism. It is a misconception that scientific temper is only you talk about something like science and building upon a physical reality, or maybe something like those ideas which are very progressive in nature. So
Sorry
I'm
for
not
it.
saying.
I feel that these two things are not mutually exclusive. They are in fact mutually inclusive.
Yeah,
Because
true. I totally agree.
it is scientific in nature, but it is a part of our heritage. Still, we do practice Ayurveda. These things
Yeah,
are not mutually exclusive; they are mutually inclusive. There is
exactly.
no
It is.
issue
Yeah,
regarding reconciling them.
correct. That's what I'm saying. Like whatever we have, I mean, say you. I mean, since you have mentioned, I mean, Satish ji has mentioned about the, alternate medicine, that is Ayurveda. See, Ayurveda may be, finding its place in our scriptures and other, texts, religious texts, but it doesn't mean. I mean, whatever heritage we have, received, is against the modern scientific principles. No, it is not like that. In my perception, whatever we got through heritage and whatever we have today, it has to be simultaneously, taken forward. So then I think, I think that is why there is something called as innovative, a field where this earthly principles, like whatever is embedded in the village or maybe roots, that need to be inculcated. So there is a system which is being built, and it's given funded by the government. So I think this desi way of living and a modern way of living, that need to be reconciled. It is never conflicting. It is in fact what do you call for that? It is in fact
It is
rebuilding,
complementary.
complementary. True. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. It's like if I draw a simile, prior to COVID, the number of webinars were very, very, very few, almost nil in many places. And post-COVID, this is the only platform we can meet, talk, discuss, and vent out all our energies in the direction. So once we have recovered from COVID, this platform should be here to stay. So that is our scientific temper. We continue with the traditional in-person conferences, seminars, workshop, but getting everybody from different places and having webinars should just continue. So that would be a scientific temper, right, Advocate Suvidutt?
See, no, I'll tell you, scientific temper is in fact a broad concept. It is the development of ideas which are connected to the progress and promotion of society's, betterment. So it is. I mean, we should not mistake this concept of scientific temper that it is only limited to science. It is not like that. We have challenges at different point of time. If you think historically, like say and chronologically, right from the beginning, we were having several challenges. So we have to, in fact, inculcate this, spirit of, reform. Because when we try to reform, see how reforms can be built. I mean, how reforms can be made in which all, areas, education, reforms have to be made. So then people will start thinking. If education is a very outdated, outdated, then people won't be in a position to think forward. countries may move, in our country may lag behind. So therefore, educational reforms made.
Very, very
See,
important.
example of COVID. Now earlier, as you rightly said, Suchitra ma'am, that we were not having this challenge. Okay, now people have thought. I mean, people are devising or maybe designing new things to cope up with the changing times. Now most of the things have become online. See, I'm a practicing lawyer in the Supreme Court. Physical court is where advocacy skills can be actually developed, is what I've been taught, what I've seen. But now, for the last 7 to 8 months, I've been sitting here and arguing cases virtually. So just imagine, this new challenge has given me an opportunity that this advocacy is not limited to physical court. Yes, we can do much more things online. So this temperament, this openness to new challenges or new avenues, that need to be inculcated, so that I think in that sense, well, a scientific temper we can say that need to be developed.
Yeah, on that note, so we'll take a last question that we have here. It's by Rahul Hajare. And the question is like, how can constitution confine regional aspirations?
See, our
Yes, sir. Advocate Satish, can you?
Yes, please.
Yeah, any one of you can take it.
See, I can tell
In
something.
fact,
See, the regional aspirations is nothing but the I mean, it's basically the state-wise aspirations and state-wise interest. Okay, and if you talk about the linguistic interest, constitution has in fact addressed on those lines. Even the cultural differences that each and every state has, constitution has several provisions protecting those values. So therefore constitution take care of several aspects of regional differences. And it is in fact in the recent times, not in the recent times, right from the beginning, people were having that just by unifying just by making one language and one policy, or one idea for one country, that is in fact a misnomer, or maybe it's a wrong notion, because India is a country with diversity, and it's a cultural mosaic. We have several festivals. I mean, the lifestyle is different in each and every part of India. So considering this differences in regional wise differences has been taken care in the constitution, and then one language or those things is not going to work. That is not, it's a misunderstanding that it is going to unite the country. No, preserving the identity, the regional identity, will definitely that will unify this country, not by destroying the regional identities. We have to preserve the regional identities, I think, regional aspirations. And constitution has actually, see, Ambedkar has actually visualized, or he was a very far-sighted man. He has actually seen a lot of things, and that's why our country, our system is a very federal system, where a lot of autonomy has been given to states. So there is nothing to worry, and we all have to abide by the constitution, uphold the values of the constitution, and perform the fundamental duties properly. And I think definitely India can progress. India can be a role model in the global platform. No doubt on that.
Okay, we have another question here. If Advocate Satish, you can also take it up, and you give your opinion on that. Shivani Gankar, and Shivani's question is, sir, we see over social media, we take more stand for our freedom of speech, for our actions, but at the same time, we never speak about our duties. So how will this scenario change? So if you could just share your opinion on this. I don't know the clarity. Yeah.
Social media is just like an what you call genie coming out of the lamp. Whatever you ask, it gives. Okay, and it spreads like anything. So as regards, it's not that the social media on the social media only what you call the freedom of speech is discussed. There are several things where very good topics are discussed as regards social media in the sense social work uh, out of the blue people helping out other human beings are shown on the social media. It changes the mindset of people several times. It's not that the social media always shows something wrong. The social media is also responsible for bringing a lot of changes in the society as well.
Suvidutt, thank you very much, Advocate Suvidutt and Advocate Satish. What a wonderful session this has been. But as all good things should come to an end, and we are all time bound, and we all need to get back to our work. Of course, wish that we could carry on more longer here. But sir, I admire your words that you said. You know, we cannot really ask our country for everything. It's rather how much we can do for our country. We will really have to think over this, ponder over it, and possibly that will give us a better hindsight, you know, when we are next expecting things. Rather, how much of it can you give towards your expectations? So, building scientific temperament, a new insight in fundamental duties about how our heritage, culture, scientific temperament can all be inclusive, should go hand in hand, and that would actually result in the real progress of our nation. On this 26th day of November, the Constitution Day, we are definitely feeling very, very enriched at the end of this webinar. Uh, thank you very much, Advocate Suvidutt and Advocate Satish. I would now request Shri Vinod Kumar to take over and propose his official vote of thanks.
Unmute.
There was a very
Unmute yourself.
thank you, Sujita. There was a very enriching session. Although the evolution of our civilization is not uniform in India, it's enriched with the notion of rights and duties of individuals. The entire socio-political affairs of the Indian civilization have been based on the performance of duties. This is one of the unique features of our tradition that lays more emphasis on duties than rights. Every citizen of India plays a key role in building a new India, a clean, healthy, and prosperous nation. Everyone performing their duties, even mechanically, would pave a way for a better neighborhood, a better society, and ultimately a better country. Let's together build a responsible India. On behalf of Press Information Bureau Western Region, I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to Advocate Suvidutt Sundaram and Advocate Satish Karale for taking their time out from their busy schedules and giving their enriching thoughts and answering the queries of our viewers. Thank you so much. Hope to see you again, and all the best. Jai Hind.
Thank you. We'll hail Constitution.
We'll now officially wind up with this session. We have a baggage of knowledge that we're going to carry back at the end of it, hoping for PIB to bring in more such sessions for us to get together and disseminate and discuss on. Thank you very much once again. And thank you very much all the viewers for your questions, for your patient hearing, and for being here with us today. Thank you.